Ignacio, I think the timing of this state of emergency is what a lot of people are talking about. What do you make of it? The fact that it's happening on the eve of a very close presidential runoff.
Well, it definitely has an opportunistic connotation if you think about how important the issue of crime is. This is a way of doing a last propaganda act before the election, even when public debates about the election cannot be held anymore. So by this, Noboa is dominating the discussion, is imposing the agenda he wants to impose. He, from the beginning, from his first day in office, he has been trying to signal that he's going to be the tough on crime candidate, that he's going to be like El Salvador's Nayib Bukele, who also had a very, very high crime problem and had a tough on crime policy, and crime went down. So he's trying to imitate that. He also tried to move close to Trump in the US, saying, okay, we're going to have a tough approach backed by the power of the United States. So this clearly, he's trying to have he sees himself in a little bit of a disadvantage in an election for which he originally was seen as the favorite. And this is, I think, a last gasp attempt at reclaiming the initiative in an election that is not going as well as he thought.
So this state of emergency, as well as curfews imposed on a number of provinces and cities. So how are people supposed to go out and vote in these areas when there's a curfew in place?
No, the curfew is at night. In the day, it's going to be normal. I think that it's from 22 to 5 or 6 a.m. the curfew. There are some exceptions for police, for aid workers, and during the day, it should be normal. The elections are held after sunrise. So that should be normal, although nothing is very normal in Ecuador. You have to think that in the past election, one presidential candidate was assassinated by drug cartels. So there is an air of things are not completely normal, clearly, but I think Noboa is trying to show that I am going to keep order. I'm going to be the person who grants a normal the development of the elections. He's trying to show that he is in charge, but the elections should be held normally.
So Ignacio, clearly Ecuador has seen an alarming rise in homicides, in crime, in drugs, in gang activity. And our reporter Dan Collins said poverty and unemployment are big factors here. What else is driving this?
Well, the people who are specialized in crime, they think that the Guayaquil port, Guayaquil is one of the 2 large cities in Ecuador down the Pacific coast, has turned into one of the main shipments conduits for cocaine into the United States. So there's been a huge fight to get control of that port among different factions and different cartels. And we have seen in the last 4 or 5 years tremendous massacres in jails when gangs fight each other, with hundreds of people dead. We have seen politicians killed. We have seen violence in the streets at levels that people were not used to seeing. This is not only an Ecuador phenomenon. This is a thing that we have seen in many Latin American countries that used to be seen as relatively normal with regards to drug violence. We used to have Mexico as a very violent country, Colombia, maybe Brazil, but other countries that had much lower levels of violence in the last few years violence has gone up. And this is a problem that all of Latin America is facing, but Ecuador in particular, due to the strategic importance of the Guayaquil port and its direct connection to the west coast of the US, and how gangs have moved there as they found an easy way to do things from there. It has turned into a strategic place for conflict, and we're seeing the consequences.
So knowing all these crime issues, how much support do Daniel Noboa's strategies of fighting crime and these really extreme measures, does it have a lot of popular support?
Yes, tough on crime policies are popular in Latin America. I think people want a tougher approach. Politicians are starting to realize that people want a tougher approach than they used to have in the past. But the problem is these measures have to be effective. And in Noboa's case, they have not been effective at all. Crime has not gone down in the 2 years since Noboa has applied these measures. And this is why Luisa Gonzalez has a claim, because when her ally, Rafael Correa, former president, of Ecuador was in charge, crime was much lower. And it's true there were more some social policies that emphasize community life and a different approach to young people. That Luisa Gonzalez says we should bring these things back, but as well as tough on crime in combination.
Yeah.
They're not discussing the importance of tough on crime measures. Both the left and the right are kind of starting to agree with this in most of Latin America. But there's a difference in emphasis. What else do we need to do apart from tough on crime? And they need to be effective because they have worked in some places, but in other places such as Ecuador, they have not worked at all.
And very quickly, Ignacio, who do you think is going to win this runoff on Sunday?
Well, at the moment, if you asked anyone or most people prior to the first round, Noboa was the favorite by a lot. You know, there's these prediction markets that calculate the people put money, they gamble basically on who's going to be the winner, and they gave 90% odds for Noboa before the first round took place. But the first round vote was so close, Noboa won by just 0.1% in the first round, and now other left-wing candidates have endorsed Luisa Gonzalez for the second round. So now she is seen as the favorite by 60-40 margin, not in the polls, but in the odds market. The polls give her 2 points ahead, 3 points ahead. It's within the margin of error, but at the moment, Gonzalez has a very slight advantage.
All right, we'll leave it there. I know you'll be watching it for us. We'll be watching it as well. Ignacio Portes, thank you very much.
Thank you.